It hurts me to sometimes look back and see pictures. It's very triggering. It was such a beautiful time, but then the stories have kind of turned and changed. And there is some sadness I have for my children. And it's also really important in my healing journey that people start to see me as me without him. And it's really important for people to see my children as individuals without him.
Hi friends, it's Katie from Without a Crystal Ball. Welcome back to my channel. It is Tuesday, January 7th, 2025, and I hope you're having a wonderful day. It has been 2 years since Stephen Boss, aka tWitch, passed away. And Stephen, a beloved DJ on the Ellen DeGeneres show, an amazing dancer from So You Think You Can Dance, and an all-around amazing guy, super positive. Everyone loved him. No one had anything bad to say about this guy. And he is still missed. You know, I became familiar with him when I started covering another group called 7M, the story that became a docuseries about Robert Shin and a group of dancers. And some of those dancers were actually friends of Stephen and his wife, Allison. And for a long time, we spent a long time trying to figure out what their connection was to the situation. And today we know that they were not involved in this group. Stephen was friends with some of the men and women that became involved with Robert Shin, but he didn't want to be associated. See, since I was able to cover the Shekinah Church and the 7M TikTok cult, I got the opportunity to speak to family members, former managers, and friends of Stephen Boss, because his story was being defamed, being slandered. His family was being iced out, ignored, forced to sign NDAs for a funeral, and told they could not see his kids. Even though Stephen had always been close to his brothers and his mother, even up until his passing, and his children had a very close relationship to their uncles, their aunts, their grandmother, and their family on his side. Suddenly, that relationship was abruptly cut off after his death. His death has been surrounded in so much mystery, so many unanswered questions, and his late wife and widow, Allison, hasn't made it easy for those of us that loved Stephen, for his family that loved him, and for those of us asking, why does she keep doing this? What is her problem? And that's where we're going to start today. On December 14th, 2022, Stephen Boss died. There are theories out there about the death, and that's not where we're going to go today. What we're going to talk about is a new book, a book that has tWitch's family devastated, friends of his heartbroken and angry, and a lot of people on social media calling her out for exploiting his death for profit, putting out personal journals that were private, and with accusing him of being an addict to drugs, something that everyone that knew him is adamant he did not struggle with. And again, his autopsy was clean of drugs and alcohol. Allison's strange behavior began not long after he died. It started as close as his funeral, when she suddenly wanted anyone that attended the funeral to sign a non-disclosure agreement, including anyone in his family, his siblings, his mother, his relatives, because she wanted to protect his image, she claimed. She didn't want anything to tarnish his image. She cared about his image. She didn't want her kids to see it. She wanted to shield them from possibly anything negative about him. And now, 2 years later, it would appear that all of that is thrown out the window, and the alienation the children have felt from his family, and his family is still experiencing to this day, where they were forced to sign these NDAs to attend his funeral, they're left heartbroken because it meant nothing, because now she is out there and she is the one tarnishing his name. The book is supposed to be about Allison and her journey, her healing journey. She gave an 18-minute interview, probably longer, with People magazine, where it felt very self-absorbed, and she seems to have a very high opinion of herself. and believes that, she's an inspiration to other people. And in the very beginning of this video, I shared a portion of it because she said that she gets triggered by his photos. Triggered. When she found out about a childhood trauma he experienced, instead of feeling empathy and sadness for him, she felt betrayed that the secret was never disclosed to her. It would appear that Allison's motives for this book are not to honor Stephen, but instead to profit and exploit his death, tarnish his name, and to help elevate her fame. Something friends and family have told me was a huge issue they had with their relationship. Their relationship, according to family members and friends that I've spoken to of Twitches, was not rosy. There had been fights, there had been disagreements. In fact, at the time of his death, I'm not sure if you're aware, most of Stephen's bank accounts for his businesses were not jointly held with Allison. He kept his money separate from her. There was a strain in their marriage. There was disagreements about their future. There was frustration about her need for attention and social media fame and his desire for a slower paced life. An article today that was published by People shared excerpts of the book that she has written. And this excerpt actually got the response of one of her friends who finally had enough. Now, I'll share with you what was in this article that got them so upset, and then I'll tell you what their response was. Allison is now accusing Twitch of being a drug addict, accusing him of hiding drugs in their home and finding drugs in his closet. And she told this to People. She said, I was with one of my really dear friends and we were cleaning out the closet and picking out an outfit for him for the funeral. It was a really triggering moment for me because there were a lot of things I discovered in our closet that I did not know existed. It was very alarming to me to learn that there was so much happening that I had no clue about. It was a really scary moment in my life to figure that out, but it also helped me process that he was going through so much and he was hiding so much. And there must have been a lot of shame in that. She claims that this shoebox included mushrooms, pills, and other substances that she had to look up on her phone. I don't know what those are. Mind you, nothing was found in his system. She never discussed that he used drugs before, ever. Now, suddenly writing a book, she's going to accuse him of being an addict. This book is supposed to be called about her healing journey. It's titled This Far. She said that he was very honest in his communication about his marijuana use. He would go, after the kids would go to bed, he would go to their guest house and smoke or drink. She says that was his alone time. It was his time to recharge, and that was okay. But then she started combing through his personal journals. And this is where friends and family are infuriated because these people were forced to sign an NDA to go to his funeral. And now she's exploiting and detailing private information from his journals in her book. She writes, he was wrestling with a lot inside himself and he was trying to self-medicate and cope with all of these feelings because he didn't want to put it on anyone because he loved everyone so much. She says that he alluded to being essayed by a male figure during his childhood in several of his journal entries. He didn't want other people to take on his pain. So she's claiming that he wrote in his private journals that he was a victim of child SA. Why she would disclose this it makes no sense. It helps no one. What I find interesting in all of this is that she spends a lot of time talking about what was wrong with him, but I don't ever hear her talking about if they were having problems in their marriage. She always acts like this relationship was perfect, but every single person I talk to, they tell me that it wasn't a good relationship. They were fighting constantly. COVID was like a huge moment for them where their relationship started to fracture. He just took off the day that he went to that hotel, didn't tell her, and then stopped returning her calls. And she claims there was no fight. This is also what she said. Reading Stephen's journals and even going back into the books he had read and the things he was highlighting and lining really gave me a better perspective of where he was in life and the type of things he was struggling with. It did have me feel a lot of empathy towards him and sadness for all of the pain he was holding. But she felt betrayed by his secrets. I can't think of a lot of things that I would feel if I say this was true. If you found out your deceased husband was a victim of child SA, I don't think I would feel betrayed if he didn't tell me that. Betrayal is not a natural emotion you would feel. about somebody being hurt by someone else. It's like she took it personal that he didn't tell her. She claims that she is sharing this now because she wants to save someone else's life. It was really hard to put out all the pieces through certain discussions, even with friends and things that have been said. Reading through his journals, you realize he went through a lot as a child that he never faced. It's hard to think that he never opened up to someone and wanted to face it to get through to the other side. I really hope people dealing with the same thing will help themselves out of the shadows and know you're going to be okay. I don't know how this book is helping anyone when she's the one profiting off of exploiting private journals and details about his life that he never said to anyone. I don't know that this helps anyone but her make money. And he's not here to respond. He can't say if this is true or not. She's applying some trauma to him that we don't know if is true or real. And she says, even though previously she had said that he had no signs and there were no red flags, she said he was acting withdrawn, showering less frequently, and smoking morning, noon, and night. And he was being very careful about his wording. How is someone who's a drug addict smoking morning, noon, and night found at the scene with no drugs in his system? Marijuana stays in your system for a long time, in your fluids. It seems like she's now trying to rewrite history and paint him in an unfavorable light, but it also shows that she's trying to say she knew nothing about her husband. I don't know what's benefiting of this, but she feels betrayed and she wants to erase him from her life. When the article was published by People magazine, Courtney Ann Platt, one of her friends, shared this on Instagram. Anyone who knows me knows I go straight to source during a conflict and handle my business. But since there's clearly no shame in being public, I haven't said a word in 2 years, but here I go. I was there the moment you both connected. I was there the day you got engaged. I stood by your side on your wedding day. I was in your home the day he died. I was by your side because your husband was my family. It didn't matter how often we spoke, how often we saw each other. We were bonded forever. This was by far the most tacky, classless, opportunistic acts I've ever seen in my entire life. We all had to sign some weird NDA to attend his funeral, even his own mother, who you've treated like garbage this entire time. And let's just remember, you wouldn't have even had a husband if it wasn't for her. And we were not to share anything or ruin his name, as if that was on anyone's mind in the first place. And here you go and write a book with all the dirty laundry smearing his name and attempting to dim the bright, loyal, loving light that was your husband and my friend. Whether any of it is true or not is actually beside the point. This is how you protect the boss name you so quickly dropped on your social media platforms 48 hours after he passed. His legacy. This is how you protect his children from any further humiliation, hurt, and despair. This is what you want them to remember about him. You have moved on. You're living your life. You're on every carpet you can get on, every celebrity row you can sit in, every magazine you can be in, and you needed to do this. Get a journal, a therapist, a friend, but publishing a book, shamelessly sharing pages of your husband's journal, People magazine, what a joke. Yes, he took his own life, which is a fact all of us still can't fathom, and he was clearly having mental health issues, hurting so deeply, and this is your example of empathy, of your love. This smear campaign for a buck is absolutely not what he would have ever wanted, no matter how bad he was hurting. Not for a second. You're a living, breathing bulldozer. Stick to your own demons. Shame on you, Allison. Shame on your money-hungry team. Let my friend rest in peace, not your PR. Same post was then reshared by his brother Dre in his stories on Instagram. And this is what I wrote, of which some of his friends and family have commented on. Allison Holker is reporting a new book, a book that is not about her, but rather about her late husband, Stephen Twitch Boss. At the time of Twitch's death, Allison went public and said there was no warning signs. She gave a televised interview claiming Stephen did not suffer from mental illness and there were no issues in their marriage. After his death, Allison forced family and friends to sign NDAs, and she blocked Stephen's family from seeing his kids. She claimed that she wanted to protect her children and protect Stephen's image. However, now Allison wants to paint Stephen in a very different light. She seeks to expose allegations of child SA that she claims Stephen endured as a child. Allison writes that she found out about the abuse in his journals. Most disturbing is Allison's reaction to the allegations. She felt betrayed. And then a family friend said that left this in the comments. More to come. Me and the family are done with her lies, and it's time to open Pandora's box. Now, Nelson was his former manager, and Nelson said, Oh, we are coming now. The photos out there too. She can't stop it all. Let her house of cards fall. He did not want to be with her anymore. Nelson also claimed in my comments that the gun that she used, his allegation is it was her gun he used, telling a story without saying a word. Nelson was by his side for years, was his manager, was Allison's manager. Nelson's a good guy and he loves his friend and he misses him. Dre shared my story, shared my post, publishing private journals to smear his name, and then removing all of her own problems from the situation. Nelson claims that they weren't doing well. They were fighting. He wanted to leave her. He didn't want to be married to her anymore. Dre, his brother, was on all of the business accounts, was his partner, and Allison didn't have access to any of the money. And one of the very first moves she made when he died was seeking to gain access to accounts that he would not allow her access to for over 5 years. This is why family and friends have a hard time accepting that he did this to himself. There's no proof to indicate otherwise, and she wasn't seen at that hotel, but according to Nelson, it was her gun. She claims it was his gun that he got in 2020. But either way, the family has been silenced through NDAs, and now she's asking people to forget about him and remove him from her life so they just see her for her. Because if I'm going to be honest, she's jealous of him even in his death. She wants him and his light to be dimmed so her light can be shining. She took his judging position on So You Think You Can Dance. She's tried to take every opportunity, business opportunity that was associated to him and using his name to gain access to those things. She's building her career off his death and now is saying to people, I want to be known without him. You can't erase someone from your life. You can never erase a father from his children, and they will always be a part of him, and he will always be a part of them. We'll be doing more on Allison and Twitch, but I'd love to know what your thoughts are. Are you shocked about this latest stunt? Did she go lower than you expected? Or are you of the opinion that she has a right to share her story, even if it's untrue, according to sources? Let me know in the comments below. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up. Make sure to subscribe to my channel if you haven't subscribed, and click the bell so you never miss a video. Bye, everyone.